Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to the Wine Animal YouTube channel for part 2 with the legendary JJ here at Lamont in Perth. Now, everywhere I go, every state, I seem to bring rain. And I don't know why, but it literally happens. But every time I come to Perth, there's nothing but blue sky and sunshine. And there's a reason why this man's been trying to get me to move across here for the last, year and a half. And, you know, I might be seriously considering it because it's a pretty special place to be. And I'm honoured, I'm humbled, I'm thrilled, I'm ecstatic, I'm whatever superlative you can think of to have the great man here to talk about what could be my least favourite grape. If I'm being perfectly honest, don't get up and leave. I know, don't.
No, we're going to push him out of here.
Don't. But I have to be honest, it's who I am, right? I obviously can judge, I can score, I can do all of that on these wines because I feel like you need to be able to put personal preferences to the side. But I do not like them personally. Stylistically, I don't. It's just not something that I enjoy to drink, especially when they're young. Now, give me an aged Bordeaux and you probably have me swooning around and swirling. Maybe I just need them in some age. But we're not doing vintage specific here. We're looking at a cross-section of regions, of styles, of vintages, of what could be some of the greatest Cabernets from Margaret River. So welcome again to JJ here. If you don't know this man, I mean, I don't know if you've been living under a rock, but thanks for joining me again for part 2.
Grateful. And I came across to the West in 1977, found Western Australia, found Margaret River and the Great Southern just as they were opening up, and found just wonderful wines, whether or not you're a Cabernet fan, and have just been so pleased and so thrilled. But I also love the lifestyle and I love the lack of social structuring, which means that Western Australians believe that they can do anything, and often they do. And so I have suggested to Breno, on probably, I mean, not often, probably only 8 or 10 times, that that he should move to Western Australia and be a part of what's going on over here, while still going backwards and forwards to the eastern states and continuing what, in my opinion, is the wonderful work that he does in promoting wine. Now, from there, we better get on to Margaret River Cabernet, Western Australian Cabernet, if that's okay?
Of course it is. I mean, that's what we're here.
Okay.
We're here to. This was actually your preference for video that we were going to do today was for Cabernet, and I pushed you into the Chardonnay realm. I just gently nudged you across.
It was pretty hard, I can tell you. Okay, so where we're at, Western Australian Cabernet. I'm from Victoria. My family are from South Australia, but I moved to the West. So please take that into consideration. But what I need you to know is that sometimes, in my personal opinion, the West Cabernets don't get due deference in the eastern states. Now, perhaps I'm wrong. Not putting it there, just putting it out there. Amongst the reasons that I can say that is, and it's what I saw when I first got here and I've just seen it develop, is that Australia has a 7 capital city wine show system. It is one of the best in the world. And since the first show in the 2014 vintage, 7 capital city wine show shows a year, except for a couple during the COVID era. The West has won 77% of the best Cabernet trophies in this country since the first show in 2014, from less than 2.5% of Australia's red Bordeaux and Cabernet varietals. Truly extraordinary, and it's because of the quality. But I know it's personal preference, but that means it's different show judges, different panels in every show. And to put a full stop at the end of that, and I haven't discussed this with Breno too much, I do try and push it down his throat a little bit, but just as an example of the dominance of Western Australia in terms of Cabernet. It's not Margaret River, because there are many trophy winners, a number of trophy winners from the Great Southern as well, here in the West. At the Canberra Wine Show, which is our national and most prestigious wine show, the Endeavour Group's wine show, Western Australia has won the last 16 consecutive best Cabernet trophies at Canberra and 19 of the last 20. Masked lineups, different panels, different judges, different styles being sought after and dictated to by the senior judges. Truly extraordinary, great effort. And what we're looking at, and Breno and myself talk about these sort of things, we're not saying these are the greatest available, because there are
more than a handful.
Breno and I both have many friends in the West whose wines aren't here, and their wines are fantastic as well. We just can't do everything. These are just a selection we've chosen, we think are amongst the very best. And we move on to Leeuwin then?
Yeah, well, I mean, I actually reviewed this 2 days ago. I sat down with this on my own over the course of a day and a half to look at this. I'm very grateful to the Morgan family, to Simone, for helping me in my journey and in my tasting evolution. And she keeps sending me the Cabernets to try. And for the Leeuwin estate, for those of you familiar with the Leeuwin estate, you will all know the Art Series Chardonnay. It is their flagship wine. It is the highest awarded Chardonnay in Australia. It has the most awards, the highest point score overall over the past of decades, right? But the entire Art Series range, the Riesling, the Shiraz, the Cabernet, are incredible wines. And this just happens to be the cheapest in this lineup. And I hate using the word cheap because it's not justifiable. And that's the same reason why we said these aren't just the greatest. But this wine, to me, is exact. It's 99% Cabernet, 1% Malbec.
Okay, so for me, and I think for us, Leeuwin were known for Chardonnay almost solely initially. They had some more reasonably priced, sought-after wines of various styles, but it's only with Shiraz and Cabernet in recent years that they've really started to do everything they possibly can and improve and make them wonderful. Cabernet's 13, 15, 18, 19. 19 was a crowd pleaser, soft, gentle, plush, delicious. 2021, and now the 22. One thing we haven't talked about is evolving, and the Leeuwin Cabernets have evolved. The Chardonnay styles in Western Australia and the East are evolving in many ways. Oak, density of fruit, what we're doing in the vineyards, and this to me is a little bit richer, a little bit denser, beautifully plush, soft, gentle edges, but rich, dense. I won't say rich, that's probably wrong. Lean, dense, but ripe fruit with those soft, gentle, textured edges, lingering. It may not have, and I'm into context, it may not have the final length of some of these, but as Breno indicated earlier, it's about 60% of the price or less of the others, and fantastic value for money, and in the best couple that Leeuwin have ever made.
I think it has that graphite-y, pencil shaving, like gravelly grip that you want when you're drinking that young Bordeaux. And touching on your comment on, the evolution of wine and the evolution of style, I have never bought a dozen of a single wine, ever. Never. Not once in my storied, short career have I bought 12 bottles of one wine. But back in, if I can refer to your generation, right, with the utmost respect, of course.
I'm nearly 80.
Okay, with the utmost respect, of course, a lot more people were buying these bottles by the dozen, right? And
absolutely.
They were made and they were designed to be drunk in the future. My generation, I'm almost 40, so I'm considering myself old, right? We don't have the patience that this generation had. And the next generation have even less patience. It's something like 99% of every single wine bottle purchased is consumed within 8 hours. 8 hours. That means the 1% of us, maybe not me, I'm not that bad, maybe not me, but the 1% of people that are collecting wine and are in that weird cult that we're in, right, of collecting wine and hoarding it all and stuff, that's such a small percentage of people buying bulk wine that the winemakers and the wineries had to change their style in order to please people immediately. Otherwise, they weren't going to sell out of their wine.
And we believe, I think I can say that we believe, I'm looking at him meaningfully, I believe they're better than they've ever been. I believe most wine styles, in fact, perhaps all, but certainly most, and certainly Cabernets and Chardonnays are better than they've ever been in the past. These are marvellous wines. These are great wines.
This is, I mean, I've moved on to the Jackman now. I've moved next one along to the Horton.
Good.
Now, Horton. When we talk Horton, are we talking about the Horton clone? Because that on the East Coast is something that is sweet. We talked about it with the Chardonnay with the Gin clone, and we talk about the Horton clone for Cabernet in WA being the dominant clone.
Okay, so it's a very interesting point, and I hadn't thought about this now. Right, so the West was fortunate to start off with what we now call in the West the Gin clone, because it first came to West Australia, was planted in a town called Gin. And it just suits the West Australian style, and it makes a soft, gentle, opulent, viscous but dry viscosity, not sweet viscosity, style of Chardonnay, which we find lovely and which apparently the show judges find lovely. In Cabernet, we were just lucky once more with, and as I understand it, and I'm not an expert on this, it's not my area, but I think that the what we call the Horton clones, I think came from South Africa. There's several of them. There's not just one, there's several clones that just seem to suit Margaret River and Western Australia, and these are the wines that the wines from the Gin clone and from the Horton clones in Cabernet are the wines that are dominating the Australian wine show circuit. The newer clones that have come in at different times are not doing as well in the Eastern States wine shows, but we've already used that word evolvement. Things are evolving. We're not quite sure what will happen in future. If we go back to Jackman at Horton again, Jackman, during the 30s and 40s, he did 51 vintages at Horton. His father, George Mann, who had come across from Shadow Tanunda in South Australia, and whose wife's family were the Sobels family, who had founded Queltala and Queldenberg up in the Hunter, and they also jointly went. They were 50% founding partners in Leo Buring's business, Leopold or Rudy Buring, with the Sobels family, and Jackman's family, his mother was a Sobels, and moved to Western Australia, and the Sobels in the Eastern States don't know they've got winemaking cousins over here today, and Jack was, so between his father and he did 81 vintages of Horton between them, and Horton named their greatest wine, Cabernet, the Jackman, each year. First one was in 1994, and they've won a number of times. I won't say a number of times. They've certainly won the best Cabernet trophy at Canberra, in fact, on one occasion. But this wine, the second last, the 22 is on the market now. This one, the 21, picked up the current James Halliday's Wine Companions Best Cabernet Sauvignon of the Year, and I'll just chuck in that its little brother, the C.W. Ferguson, the Cabernet blend from the Great Southern also. This is from the Great Southern, not Margaret River. Last year, the previous book, the 2024 edition of the Halliday Wine Companion, picked up the best Cabernet blend. So Horton under winemaker Courtney Treacher are still doing a marvellous job.
I think richer, denser, more palate weight, okay, but also more length. I think that's really the difference between these two that I've just tried again. But not like not an astronomical difference, right?
More gently textured than in the past around the edges, and as you said, great length, which I think is the key to quality.
Great length is the key to quality.
I'll just chuck in very, very quickly. A little while ago, I love doing extravaganzas, which Breno sometimes comes across and joins me at over here. A little while
Thanks
ago,
to my wife, thank you.
a short while ago, I did a lineup of the Jackman Cabernet Sauvignons with the help of the current winemakers and previous winemakers. A great crew of people. We got 8 of the winemakers, 5 of the Mann family who are still involved in wine, and a number of the press, and did a lineup. The great Paul Lapsley, who was headed up the Accolade winemaking program for a decade or so, maybe 15 years, sent across a 1953 Jackman Hermitage Shiraz, which had not seen oak, 72 years of age, drank brilliantly. Let's move on to the next one.
Well, I mean, I think when we talked, you touched on earlier about the eastern states giving recognition to these Cabernets, right? And I think the issue is that you people over here in the West don't let enough of it filter across to the East Coast because you keep it all to yourself, right? That's what I reckon happens with this wine, because I've been there. I've had the luxury of meeting with the Mugfords and tasting down there with them. Tasted some very early stuff, which was fantastic. This is one of the most collected Cabernets in the country, and I know that for fact. And this one is one that they don't let out of Western Australia, and they should, because this is a beautiful wine, and I can openly admit that. Okay, I admit that on camera. That this is a beautiful wine, and I love this wine.
I haven't told Breno, but I've got the keys to the cellar of Western Australian wines going to the east. I refuse to let that. Just kidding.
Doesn't surprise me.
Just kidding. Okay, Western Australian Cabernet Sauvignon, the most popular of them all, the most loved Cabernet in Western Australia at over $100 a bottle. Clearly Mosswood. Every serious retailer of wine in the West cannot get enough, wants more than they can get, complain to the wholesalers, complain to the wineries that they don't get enough. All sells out very quickly. I have gone back. Mosswood recently mentioned, we recently mentioned Erin Larkin. Erin Larkin and a couple of us, my son Jack, who now runs Lamont's wine store in Cottesloe, where we are now, and restaurant. We drove down to Margaret River about 3 weeks ago for the 50th anniversary of Mosswood, went back to the Cabernets of 1979, obviously under cork, drank magnificently. Don't tell Breno, I don't want to make him jealous. Don't mention that to him.
Well, I mean, to be honest, you invited me to this tasting. You rang me like 2 days beforehand and said, if you can fly here in 48 hours, be a part of it. And this one, you probably would have as well. It's just that, Perth is a long way away, right? And it's hard with the little tribe of people I have at home to look after. But these wines on the East Coast categorically do not get the respect and the adoration that they deserve. And that may be because we have the likes of Mount Mary, we have the likes of Yarra Yering, we have Yeringberg. Which are truly great wines from the East Coast. And now, I don't know if there's this East-West rivalry, which there shouldn't be. We are, as a country, we are an entire industry. And any sort of war or wine war or battle between East and West is detrimental to the industry. We need to be picking each other up and helping each other. It's not rocket science. I mean, maybe some of it's rocket science. I mean, he went to university to study it. I'm a tradie with zero education. I'm starting education next week, actually, on Tuesday. I start my formal education. But I think that we need to be propping each other up. I need to be supporting Cabernet just because I don't personally like it for style. It doesn't mean that I shouldn't be propping it up and supporting it, because it's not fair. So it's not fair.
So we do have to move on, but with these, Mosswood, firstly, they've always had a very soft, gentle, and supple tannin regime that surrounds the fruit in the wine. The fruit's got great length, and they drink well early, and they will last. I've also gone back to 1973, 1975 in recent years, courtesy of Peter Forrestal, the former editor of A, the West Australian, but B, also Australian Gourmet Traveller Wine, and shone of 4 and 5 and 6 year old vines, and 45 years of age, absolutely stunning. And just to make that, to back up Breno's points about Mount Mary and Yarra Yering and Wanturna Estate and Seville Estate, I moved across from Melbourne in 1977. By the late 70s, early 80s, I was bringing those wines, the Quintet, etc., across to the east in significant quantities, 40 cases at a time of single wines in the wine stores that I worked in, the biggest wine store in West Australia, which I loved, and just about made it my home. And because I believed so strongly in those wines, the Cabernets that were coming out of the Yarra Valley.
Unbelievable. Next up in the lineup, we're heading back to Vasse Felix, and we've got their Tom Cullity. So this is heading up over the $200 mark now per bottle. And this is the 2021 vintage. Now, you rang me yesterday and you wanted to open up your last magnum of 2020 because, 2020 is considered for Cabernet the GOAT. But this 21 to me, now I've had the 18, the 20, the 21 recently, very luckily. And I can say that this 2021 for me is drinking the best right now. Hence why I said to you, let's put this one in there. Because I think that's important to sometimes say that just because a vintage is the greatest doesn't mean it's going to drink the greatest right then and there.
Correct. Okay, so Vasse Felix was the first vineyard in Margaret River, planted in 1967. Tom Cullity, I think probably 6 or 7 acres first up, with the help of the great man himself, Jackman, who was the godfather of the Western Australian wine industry and certainly the greatest influence on Western Australian wine to date. Tom Cullity was a doctor who I knew well, and an extraordinary person, extraordinary family. I know many of the family, and in my view, and Brenna and myself keep saying, because we understand wine, we spend so much time with wine, so much time with people, we know that whatever wine is our preference is only our opinion. Other people may not agree, but we hope that everyone goes with us. But in my view, the Tom Cullitys out of Vasse Felix, the Kevin Johns and the Vanyas out of Cullens, and we haven't got a Woodlands wine in here, but the Woodlands Cabernets, which I love, and Mosswood are the four great Cabernet ranges out of Western Australia, the 4 great Cabernet labels out of Western Australia. So the point being, with Tom Cullity, first one was 2013. I've loved them since day one. I would have already 100 or 120 tasting notes on them, and I do believe that the 2020 is the finest made to date. I absolutely love it. 18 was the great Western Australian vintage, but the 19 was better, 20 better again. This one is a little bit more youthful in its makeup just now, but I still love it and have great respect for it, and I love the Tom Cullity range, as I do with every one in this lineup, and they are worthwhile following up.
A little bit more plush, round mouthfeel, great, no sharp edges, very polished, very refined. This a little bit more tannin structure, a little bit more bite, a little bit more grip, like drying, a little bit more like an oak, more not so much a skin tannin or a grape tannin, more like an oak influenced tannin.
Structuring tannin.
Yeah, and it's almost necessary for the profile of that wine to have a little bit of that tannin structure.
They all have it, and the cooler vintage are a little bit more fragrant, a little bit softer, a little bit shyer, but still big and delicious. The warmer vintages, strong, more powerful, more structured, and will live for longer.
But drum roll for the next 2 wines, because my great friend Lee, who is from WA, the other young fella who Jay has invited to his special birthday celebration.
The only two young people.
Yeah, he's a little bit older than me, so I'm still the young guy, right? But he raves on about Madeline like it's going out of fashion. And again, Vanya, we've spoken about at length. This is her 2023, and I have read all of the critic reviews on this wine, even before you sent them to me. The scores this wine gets is just out of control, and the same thing keeps coming across, is approachability and balance now already. And this wine, to think that some of the best Madelines I've had have been 04, 07, like with 20 plus years on them. And this is drinking, from what everybody tells me, off the bat, amazing.
Okay.
So I'm going for it.
So I'm a tasting note fiend. I have nearly 300,000 tasting notes. I'm assuming I'd have well over 1,000 or 1,500 on Cullen wines. This is, without question in my mind, in exactly the same way as Brenno's saying, the pick of them so far. This is a marvellous wine. Great length, that textural length that you were talking about, the approachability of the fine soft tannins down the edges, complexity middle palate fruit, the long lingering drifting away.
It's savoury. It's like olivey, tapenade.
I'd agree.
Like graphite.
I love your descriptions. I'd agree.
Sandy. It has that, I don't know what that is, the core of black fruit. It has Bordeaux like DNA, right? But it has so much feel and texture. Like, I'm actually really taken aback by that wine, actually. And I would...
There wasn't a bit of olive you just had on your tongue.
No, but I mean, wouldn't that be amazing if it was? I think that this is a wine that if I was served blind, and I think that a lot of wines should be served blind, that I would really thoroughly enjoy that wine. I would know it's Cabernet, and I think I would trust myself to know that that's Cabernet.
For God's sake, don't tell him when you're over there. Don't tell him.
But this is just... The nose is special too. Like, it's really like, wow, I'm impressed by Cabernet, all right? I said it. I came out, it was hard to say, but I said it. All right.
I just want to get that down.
Yeah, get that.
I'll
But
get him to
I
sign
mean,
it.
and again, your generosity knows no bounds. And I discussed this earlier when I did my intro to him without him being in here because I knew that he would tell me off for speaking nice words about him. But he wanted to put in the Vanya. So this is a dedication to Vanya, to her, and it is just under $1,000 for a bottle.
Yeah.
How many bottles are there?
Can't tell you, but
There you go, 576 bottles made. So it's at 50, just under 50 dozen, and that's it. This is the most expensive Cabernet in the country. It is.
I think it probably is.
It is. I don't think there's nothing that is up in that realm. There is nothing in that realm. And what I love the brown glass. I love the brown glass. But I'm excited to try this.
I don't care about the brown glass.
Oh, I do. But I'm really excited to try this. I've had the 18 and I've had the 19. I haven't had a current release. And most people would generally think that something of this status and structure would be held back from release, maybe to age a little bit at the winery. But she likes to, 2023. So we're only, a year and a half after, or a year after bottling, or maybe not even.
Okay, so where we're at.
Go, tell me.
If I go back to this just for a second, this guy here, I would suggest that that it's also one of the best reviewed wines in the country in recent years. I recently did, I went back 14 years in the James Halliday Wine Companion and worked out his favourite wines and points over time, and this was the highest ranked Cabernet on average points over the 14 years up until the then current release. I did that in about 2019, 2020. Okay. Despite everything else, despite all that we've talked about in the Eastern States, the great Cabernets in the Eastern States. 2018 was Ray Jordan, West Australia's most prominent wine writers, Cabernet of the Year and Wine of the Year, and some of them have been absolutely marvellous. Then we move on, as Brenno's been talking about the Vanya, and its price and its limited quantities. There's only been a few releases. The 2012 was the first vintage, 99 points in the Halliday Wine Companion. The 2015 was the second release, 99 points in the Halliday Wine Companion. I've got to be careful here, I don't want to offend Vanya. I didn't think the 16 was quite as good. Love the 17, not quite as full as this wine, soft, gentle, fragrant, delicious. 18, also in the Wine Companion, received 99 points. And I did my homework then. I do a lot of research. No other Cabernet since 2006, when Robert Parker was giving some of the very big Barossa Cabernets very high points. No other wine since 2006 has received 3 separate 99 points, and this is not even made in every vintage. So it's up there as far as the Companion's concerned.
I've had it, 60 seconds ago, and it's still going. I still can taste
length of flavours,
this wine. But the drying tannin that's in there, it's fine. Yeah. It's very silky, it's velvet, they're plush tannins, right? But the fruit, the core, the oak, everything's in balance and in check, and it's a glorious wine. So Nick Ryan in The Australian wrote this up last year in Halliday's Top 100 and said it was his wine of the year of any sort, any variety. I agree with him, and I would add to Brenno's comments that it's finer than this. It's more elegant than the Dinah Madeline, the wonderful Dinah Madeline, and the way that I've described it, and I had the chance of taking a couple of members of Coldplay down to Margaret River a short while ago. They were doing 2 70,000 people concerts in Perth a couple of days later, and so we're lucky we got them back safely. And I spoke to Vanya, and she was going to be out of town, but she organised a couple of wines for us, including the 2017 of the Vanya. One of them, I think correctly, he said it was Pinot-esque. He thought it was softer, gentler, and more finely textured and more fragrant and ethereal than most Cabernets are. And he said it was more like a Pinot Noir in terms of texture and structure. And I agree with that. It's a finer. Yeah, I think. And then looking at the social media world or the consumer world, everyone associates Cabernet with steak, big, bold, bad red wine, right? Like the biggest of the big reds. And I think once you start to drink these, you get back more to that. It's medium bodied, it's delicate. Maybe not Pinot-esque for me, right? But it is definitely like in terms of the power scale, it's toned right down, but
Absolutely.
in such a beautiful way. Like it's a really, I wish cameras could pick up smell, because the smell of this, the nose of this wine is just.
I don't know. I
Sea spray mineral.
reckon Breno's done a pretty good job describing it. I love the way he talks about wine and the way that he summed these wines up just in a few words in each instance, because he hasn't had too much time.
People don't.
I agree totally with it. I understand what you're saying. You're doing it really well.
I think that, like people want to understand these wines in a way that makes sense, right? I can listen to you talk on a really technical level and be really, really intrigued, but the general consumer is not, right? They want to know, what does it smell like? What does it taste like? How long is it going to last for? When do I open it, and how long do I decant it? That's pretty much the two questions I get asked the most. How long do I decant that wine for? Well, I think almost every wine needs to be decanted. And I think this wine later today, which I'm going to pour some out of, is going to be, in 6 hours, is going to be absolutely a different wine to what we're drinking right now. It'll still be as great, but it'll be different.
Soft, gentle, seamless.
But the same price as all of them put together. You have to put that into context, right? People need to understand that is the same price as you could buy this whole set of 5, really.
The other key thing about wine is context. Breno just brought it back into context.
You have to put it into context.
I love that wine.
Love it.
That and its prior
releases.
Thank you. Are my desert island wines in terms of reds. I love them.
Wow. And for someone that's been all over Burgundy, and if you guys could see this room and what is in this room of wines, to say that that's the wine that he would take on his desert island is a huge compliment to anybody.
I'd spend usually a couple of weeks and up to a month in Burgundy each year. I still love this wine.
Well, Cabernet would not be my desert island wine, I'm going to be honest there, but I would definitely drink more of it going forward.
So just so that you get this down, Breno is always honest, as he's just been there.
Yeah.
In everything I see him do, and I've been watching him and spending time with him for some time now.
Well, you evolve, you taste, you test, you have to train your palate to understand different wines, and that is super difficult, and it's really difficult for me too, right? Like, yes, I can get some blind wines right here and there, and I feel I can nail some of the stuff, but there's so many times when you try a wine and you just completely you miss the mark. Like, you can't taste properly, you're tired, I'm always tired, so don't worry about that. I think every time we talk, one of us is tired or asleep or with a kid or with whatever it is. But I really do want to thank JJ for not only coming on here with me, and giving me your time, which is I'm only here for 22 hours or something in WA, but for opening all of these wines to share and for us to try and to continue to try, because I'm going to take proper notes and write these down. I don't score wines on a point system, not every single wine. I score them privately to benchmark, but I don't reveal or release any of those scores because that's not my place. I'm not a critic. I don't feel like that's my purpose. My purpose is to open up to people, because out of all of these, if I had to pick one to drink now, I'd drink this one. I would drink the Jackman. If I had to pick one right now, that's what I would drink. If I had to pick one to cellar and to age, I would pick this one. And if I wanted to impress and be like, this is one, I would drink this one. But that doesn't mean that I wouldn't drink these 3, and that's where people need to find the balance.
I just need to say one quick thing before you wrap up.
Say it.
This is my wife's grandfather. And Breno talked about always being tired. That's because he pushes himself so hard in so many different ways and challenges himself. And he's lucky that his wife looks after him in the way in which she does, because he needs looking after. And I'm also very, very tired, but I think that both of us would agree that wine has made our lives worthwhile, and we love it so much, it's worthwhile putting on all that extra energy. Thank you to JJ again. And we will see you on the next episode. And as a giveaway for this episode, as every episode I do a giveaway. Wow. I feel like I like to give something to the people. I'm not available. I can't give JJ away, but I am actually going to give away a bottle of the 23 Dana Madeline. So please like, comment,
subscribe. It really does mean the absolute world to me. I'm not just making that up or saying it, but it really does mean the absolute world to me. I would love to continue to do this. So please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the One Animal Channel.
Ciao.
Ciao. Nailed it. They killed it, JJ. It's just starting to record, so we can just get ourselves situated.
I'll just zip through these, just really quickly.
Go. This is good behind the scenes stuff, right? Left to right. Oh my God, that was the vanilla I just smelled. Oh, this is literally like I reviewed the Leeuwin 2 days ago. Oh wow, that's like literally exactly what I smelled. I actually had a Jackman from 2013 recently. Dan Murphy's were clearing them.
Oh no, hang on, just let me just think about these just for a second, if it's okay. Leeuwin also is cheaper than the rest of these. Much cheaper than the rest of these.
Yeah, it's like 100, isn't it? Mm-hmm. How much is that one? Roughly. I know how much that is, Mosswood. I know how much Tom Cullity is. I know how much that is.
Jackman, probably 150, 160.
Same as the Mosswood, that's about 200, 220.
Mosswood, probably 170 full price.
Yeah.
Yeah, 220, yep.
Yeah, and then that's 180,
190.
And then that's $900?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, that smells incredible. Oh my God. Oh my goodness.